Hello, I am excited to introduce Andrea Roberts from Wonderbelly Games. Andrea is going to tell us all about the game that Wonderbelly is developing called Roundguard. So, Andrea, tell us about Roundguard.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. So Roundguard is, we like to call it a bouncy dungeon crawler. If you're familiar with Peggle, it's basically like that, only instead of a ball, you're shooting your hero into a dungeon to bounce around, take out monsters, collect a bunch of loot, try to survive a big procedural dungeon all the way to the bottom. Yeah,
Awesome.
it's basically like Peggle plus roguelike.
Yeah, I love that. I was looking at the video of it. It looks like the characters all have like kind of different abilities that they
Mhm.
have and different. Can you choose which characters or do you unlock them as
Yeah.
you go along?
Yeah, so we've got the classic trifecta of the warrior, the wizard, and the rogue,
Love it.
and they each have their own different set of skills, different armor and weapons with different bonus properties and things like that that all come together to make each one feel different. So like, yeah, the warrior, he's, of course, like he rushes in, charges and smashes his face into things, whereas like the wizard, you have to be much more careful and you're using lots of like AoE and spells that shoot out to the sides and things like that.
Oh, that's amazing. That sounds so much fun. And I love the aesthetics of the game. The art is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. I did the art, so it's always nice
Oh,
to
wow.
hear that.
That's awesome. Um, I wanted to ask you about how you and the team came up with the idea for the game.
Yeah. So it was a while ago. We had done some little hobby projects in the past. Um, our team, by the way, is it's very small. It's the three of us. It's me, my husband Bob, and our good friend Kurt. And so we had done some little projects in the past, and we wanted to do a new sort of hobby project. It started as a very small idea, something we could do in our free time, and yeah, we were kind of just mashing a lot of ideas together. We really liked playing with physics. It's something we had done in the past, and it just comes up with so many like cool, really like tactile feel things that we were excited about. And we're big nerds and we love RPGs. So as
Same
we were
though.
playing around with lots of different ideas, I remember just at one point, like I often like to smash ideas together when I'm stuck, I'm trying to brainstorm something new. And I was like, Peggle RPG. And as soon as we started talking about it, it was like, whoa, there's a flood of like, okay, yeah, this is what the heroes would be like, and here are their skills. And so, yeah, really, it came together in a pretty, burst of a brainstorm.
I love it when that happens. When you have that like shower moment with the
Yes.
game design and
Yeah.
you're like, ah, I've got it. It's so good. Is this your first game, 100th game, somewhere in between?
So everyone in the team, we come from working in the game industry. So I used to work at Xbox on a bunch of big Xbox games. I was on Fable 3 and some other things like that. My husband, he used to work at Monolith. He was on Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War. And Kurt has been around in like some big games and some indie games. He had actually just recently shipped his own indie title prior to us working on this, Hellenica. And so we have all this game experience before, but this is, and like I said, we had worked together on hobby projects, but this is the first time like Wonderbelly has released a title. This is the first time we really did the like full end-to-end indie, release.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
amazing. Well, it seems like it's paid off. You guys have so many awards. It's just super impressive, especially for like the first title that Wonderbelly has released.
well, thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible. You told me about your collaborators. I could just keep moving. So, what do you think is next for Wonderbelly?
Yeah, so we are, so we're still working on Roundguard. We actually have a winter update that's gonna come out sometime very soon.
Awesome.
Where we're gonna add a bunch of some new elites and like a winter event with some like snowballs and other fun rules like that. So we have this plan to keep adding a few little things to Roundguard in the future. We want to do a new hero, and so that's one that we're brainstorming around right now. Besides that, we're just at the very brainstorm part of the phase. So I'm not sure yet what's next, or I'm not ready to announce that, but
Totally fair. Sorry to put you on the spot. Tell me everything that's going on in your game development. Well, so I want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about the industry and breaking into the industry,
Yeah.
and what advice you might have for someone who wants to do what you do, especially like aspiring artists who want to
Mhm.
work on games. What was that journey like for you? What advice might you have for someone?
Yeah. Well, so for me, like I started, like I said, I worked at Xbox for almost 10 years, and I actually started in the writing department, and then I moved into game design and UX design. Um, so I think
That's
like
amazing.
finally,
So you're wearing all these different hats.
I I like to move around and do lots of different things, which is why like I'd always wanted to go indie. I really like having, my fingers in all of the different things and getting to like move around and learn all that stuff. But I think it was really helpful for me to have gone through a good chunk of working, with a bunch of other people who knew what they were doing, with somebody else's budget, all of that to kind of learn, enough about the shape of the industry and what I wanted to do in games. So like, I know that's not the most exciting answer, but for indie developers, I often like feel like it's like, oh, if you could get a job somewhere else first working on games, that's a great way to start to like build up that experience and your budget. But the other place that I think is super helpful is like for us, so we're in the Seattle area,
Mhm.
and there's an indies group called the Seattle Indies, who are super supportive in our area. They run these like regular workshops and like get-togethers. They've got a place where people can share information. And something that was super helpful for us is they have every 3 months. Well, they did have in the pre-pandemic days, um, these show and tells where anybody could come in, they could show off their game. A bunch of other local developers would show up and give you feedback, and then like also it was open to the public. So we'd have some new players, a whole range of people come in, and that was so helpful to us through that whole process of getting that playtest feedback, really seeing like what was working with people and what wasn't. Um, so yeah, I think like reaching out, like trying to see if there's any groups in your area. Obviously BostonFIG is such a wonderful resource for everybody around. So yeah, like working with those teams is super helpful as an indie, because it's really hard to know everything and to
Oh
figure
yeah.
out where to go next when you're
Yeah, it's
stuck.
impossible to know everything. Like, and there's so many people with so many different experiences in the industry
Mm-hmm.
too. So it's, there's always going to be different voices that you can you can find to help you. Um,
Absolutely.
I wanted to give a shout out to our in Boston. We have a very similar thing called Boston Indies. So
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
I love that the community aspect of the indie game scene is so important and so critical to people kind of getting involved. So I love your advice to like look out for those groups and then get involved. For me, that was like the best way to do it also, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Excellent. Well, I wanted to give you space to talk about plugs. Where can people find out more about the game? Where can they play the game?
Yes. Yeah. So Roundguard is available right now on Apple Arcade, on Xbox, Switch, PS4, and Steam, of course.
Awesome.
So you can go and find it all of those places. If you want to learn anything more about us, you can go to www.wonderbellygames.com. And there we've got, links to like our Discord, which is a really fun place to be. Like we get lots of good comments and people sharing tips and stuff on the game in our Discord, but like also people share a bunch of just like RPG puns and memes and stuff, because we're silly people who like that kind of
Yes.
thing.
Here for the puns.
Um, and yeah, like we've got like a link to a newsletter that you can sign up for on our webpage, and then you'll learn about, as soon as we announce our next project and what's coming up, then that's what we'll make sure to say it first.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for spending the time and telling us all about Wonderbelly and about Roundguard. And we'll look forward to hearing about your next project when you've got that
Thank you.
ready to announce.
Thank you for having me.